Hello and welcome to the TechSEO Podcast. Today I am joined by Katie Thompson, who is a writer and founder of Katie Lingo, outsourced content marketing service for agencies and SMEs. Good morning, Katie.
Good morning. How are we doing?
Yeah, not too bad, not too bad. I also just thought, as I was reading through that just then, I also think in 8 years, you're the first actual guest I've had on this who's also in Yorkshire.
Oh, really? That
Yeah,
surprises me because you've
I
got
know.
Leeds, huge agency town there. Wow.
Yeah, I just appear to not like local, I guess.
But well, in this ever evolving digital landscape, we're all over the place, aren't we? We're all
Yeah, I
remote.
think something happened around 2020, 2021 that
Mm,
made us all a bit more global. But yeah,
yeah.
well, congratulations, commiserations for being the first person from Yorkshire to come onto the podcast.
Would it break your heart if I told you I wasn't actually from Yorkshire?
I'm not from Yorkshire either, so that's fine.
Hey, I just live
Uh,
here.
yeah, same. Where else are you from? This is completely gone off topic. If anyone wants to skip ahead 30 seconds and go to the
I'm
next
from
thing.
Surrey originally, so I'm a dirty southerner coming over here, taking your jobs. Start my own
Oh, yeah,
business, creating
that's fine.
jobs.
So even though I have got a whole flag for rugby there,
Oh
that
yes.
flag that flag right there, that's actually a Lincolnshire flag.
Oh, right. Okay. Fair enough. You like Lincolnshire?
I am a yellow belly at heart.
Oh, nice.
So I guess if you did skip ahead 30 seconds, thank you very much for rejoining us after that. So today we're going to be talking AI, and even though Katie has a very strong background in content, I feel this is very pertinent from a technical perspective as well because of just how AI has the propensity to spread misinformation, especially as every man, woman, child, Tom, Dick, Harry, dog, duck, everything out there which can enable AI as a service is now adding AI as a service. I'm sure most of us woke up to a nice email from Google earlier this week saying we were getting a price bump due to the added value AI services they've integrated across everything that we didn't want. But that's a podcast for a different day and probably slightly county and offline in a pub. But one thing which I find interesting, Kate, you obviously put this, you proposed this topic, and I've done a little bit of research around it. Now, one thing I have found interesting is the word hallucination in relation to AI seems to have been used a lot less frequently now. But
Yeah.
is that because we're kind of now, I don't know, maybe back then when all this was booming off, hallucinations were the headlines and it was catching, we all shared the images of, I don't know, PVA on pizzas and things like that.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure Neil Buchanan absolutely loved. Please, everyone, I hope people in the audience got that reference. But
Sorry.
yeah,
I did.
no. I wonder if he's still laying items of clothing and random sports goods out on field somewhere. And also, my main question is, who cleans that up? And yeah.
Try it
Anyway,
yourself. Anyway.
yeah, I'll give it a go and see if I get arrested. So trying to go back on my brain. So given that we're seeing, no, it's me as well. So because we're seeing hallucination being used a lot less frequently, are we still in a misinformation? I mean, not to quote the political side of things that's going on in Zelensky this week, but are we still kind of adapting to a misinformation space? And are we still at risk from this?
Well, I think it's incredible to see the pace at which it has developed. I mean, when did ChatGPT launch? Was it November 2022? And then obviously we have things like Gemini and search generated results, AI overviews. And even then, I think they have developed since you said, of course, I was going to use the glue on pizza one. And what was it like if you depressed 3 yourself off a bridge and stuff like that? I think it has come along in leaps and bounds. And now it's lovely to see like citations and stuff and actually kind of links through to where it's got this from. I kind of don't see the point because I feel like, well, wouldn't that have just been normal search engine results back in the day? It just seems like another pointless box in position 0 or whatever, or a snippet that we don't really need when we could have just scrolled and found the result ourselves. But yeah, I think it's probably a lot more helpful now because obviously we talk about 0-click search now. And if it is just a quick answer to something like, what is vitamin C good for or whatever, and it's just there straight away, you don't need to click into it. You don't need to like read a whole blog post on it. It can be very helpful. But as you say, in terms of politics and everything that's going on there, I would still be very, very cautious. And we've got things like DeepSeek and all the kind of bias that goes into that. So I suppose it depends what you're searching for. You have to kind of use your own judgment as to whether or not you should double check.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, so yeah, ChatGPT was end of 2022. It was released as a initial research preview. But it's even more kind of, to your point, interesting to see the adoption curve on this. So whenever I describe this, I use the two things. I use the classical adoption curve of like tech enthusiasts, early adopters, But I also talk about the SATA model, which talks about the status quo, resistance of changing from the status quo, then going into that kind of chaos period. And I think with AI, we're kind of one foot is slightly in the camp of resistance still, and the other foot is firmly in chaos. But I mean, in our industry, if one foot isn't in chaos, I don't think we're doing it right now. One thing you just said to me, which was interesting, is about how, like, well, if we're just going to put the citations into this position anyway, it might as well just have been a search results page.
Yeah.
Is this potentially just the evolution of what the search results page is going to become? Because we're so almost Pavlovian trained to the 10 classical blue links, and that is a search results page. But now is it, well, we're not 10 blue links anymore. We're 10 random little citations or 13 little call-out boxes.
Yeah, it's interesting because people talk about like optimizing for LLMs now and stuff, which I just think is just a hilarious kind of phrase, because people have always said since day one, write for humans, not for the machines. And it's like, well, actually, I mean, I'm sure you've seen over the years what people call SEO copywriter or an SEO brief, where it is literally just, they've just scraped something, put a load of keywords together, like, what are the top 10 best things to do in London, and go see Big Ben or whatever. And it's just really, or stuff it with, and here's a list of the best things to do in London. The best things I find to do in London are, but here are the best, you know, so I don't want to go back to that, where that really just horrible kind of keyword stuffing, you just writing it for the machines because this is what we rank for. But I do feel like that stuff is still ranking. So Google espouses, you know, helping the user, but actually, is it now just more about appeasing the machines because of all the money that's being plowed into AI? I hope not.
I think, I mean, not wanting to put an age on us both, but I'm pretty sure I know I do, and I'm going to assume, or not speak for you. Oh God, I'm entering difficult waters here. We can all remember Unique Article Wizard, and we can all remember what it was like in the late 2000s, of where you write a 500-word article, put some pipes in it and syntax it and spin it, and voila, you'd have 1,000 500-word articles on blue jeans or something like that, and you just fill them all out on a press wire or something, get 1,000 links, wait till the end of the month, bish bash bosh, done. You either won or you didn't. I think the interesting thing that you said there is how we're going back to that kind of spammy mechanism, I guess, and there is a danger of that, because I think the disconnect really for this, for me, starts from Panda way back when, because Panda was, for me, one of the more misunderstood algorithm updates that Google have had, because the fact that the party line of it was length is strength, and 500, I mean, where 500 words as an article came out as being a benchmark, it's phenomenal. But again, I think we're looking at the output of what AI overviews and AI tools are producing, and we're conflating the output with what the input is, and we're not understanding that that's a digested output. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, I've seen over the years, I felt like, I put all this time into writing this 1,000-word article, but people are actually only going to read those 2 sentences, and it's kind of like soul destroying. But then it's like, well, actually, could you be appearing for various different search terms, and are people just reading different blocks of the article or whatever? Is anyone going to read it from top to bottom? Who knows? You know.
I mean, I think that's going to be a change that happens over time. Because I remember with when Google AI overviews was still search generative experience and it was still in the beta, they were showing off a article summarizer, and you could pull through the key points from the article. And I've not really seen that. I mean, I don't know if it's been parked or anything, because I assume on-the-fly article summarization is quite costly, but it is going to be interesting to see if that comes through again with how, I mean, is part of it as well just the fact that over time we've, as people, and like, I mean, we used to watch long feature-length movies, and now we'll watch short videos on YouTube, and like almost like our attention, how we digest all media has shortened.
Definitely, it does feel a little bit like Google is just catering to shorter attention spans, particularly in the TikTok age or whatever, which makes you sound really old. But you know, YouTube Shorts, things like that. So people just want an answer and they want it quickly, kind of thing. They don't want to sit down and digest an article. Talking myself out of a job here.
Well, no, because it's also the fact that in order to get those shorts and those snippets, the whole premise of something being a shorter form piece of content means there needs to be a longer form piece of content to take it from.
Exactly. Yeah.
If the entire world could be summarized in, I don't know, 140 characters, or I think it's also probably how we've been trained. Is like, well, even just as I think when Twitter first came out with character limits, so we learned to shorten our points in our language.
Yeah.
Way back when we had actual SMS text messages and we had to press like the 5 buttons 7 times to get one letter. We had character limits on SMSs, and there was a physical cost to. So that's where we kind of developed text speak and emojis and smileys back then and all the rest of it.
Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, you're right. You do need to explore the topic in depth to kind of rank for those snippets of it. Yeah.
I also do find it, just as a note, I always find it funny when people call it the TikTok generation. It's almost like everyone forgets Vine existed.
Yeah, well, I remember that, and I remember it toppling down catastrophically. Was that about 2014? We're definitely using it in 2014. But then I think that about Snapchat as well, and I thought it was big then, and now suddenly all the kids are using it.
So Vine was here we go. I've got the official Wikipedia up. I think it's still. Is it still good? No, it was. Okay, was is the second word in this. 6-second long videos. Founded in June 2012.
Yeah.
Bought by Twitter 4 months later for 30 million. Launched on Android in 2013. Shut down in 2017.
Oh, 17, right? Okay, yeah. I remember talking about it a lot of work when, and this is kind of an illustration of Google updates and stuff in about 2014. When I was working at what I didn't realize was a complete content mill. Didn't know, because it was kind of my first proper writing job, and it was just writing for like shoehorning links into online casino websites. It was awful, and I just said no.
I mean, I think all SEOs and content focus of our generation, we've at some point shoehorned gaming and like casino links into things. It's like not wanting to sound old. Yeah, it really is.
No, yeah, definitely. Because I was 24 at the time, and I was quite naive because I had started out in print media and magazines because I trained in journalism. So as it was moving more into sort of digital, content marketing, I was just it's more of a digital writing job. Great. Didn't realize that actually it was all just kind of a smokescreen for just shoehorning in links to gambling websites, so I could be writing about health and beauty. You can find out more about Princess Power slots at whatever.com.
Well, that's what it was back then, and I think
it was right.
Yeah, but obviously this was heavily pre-Penguin. Again, not wanting to put a clock on either of us, but it worked, and that was what the standard was. And like, if you went to somebody nowadays who's only been in the industry 2-3 years, and you showed them what we used to do, by modern standards, it's ghastly. But also, if you think of what modern standards dictated 500 years ago, we'd stab each other with a sword, like.
Yeah. And people at the stake. Yeah, definitely. I don't feel so bad with a few links in now.
Now open carrying a longsword is frowned upon. Like it's a substantial change. Same as inserting the casino links. It's a weird.
So progressive.
Yeah, we're progressing. So I mean, okay, some parts of SEO and content are progressing. But there's always a new element of gaming the system. So kind of building off kind of a misinformation thing, man. One thing I wanted to cover over, and this is probably more focused around content. So end of January, Google updated the search quality rater guidelines, which even though they sacked most of the search quality raters, they still haven't found a better name for this. So they smashed some more stuff into that PDF. They mentioned AI just in general, 20 times in it now. But
Yeah.
generative AI, 14 of those.
Mhm.
And one of the things I wanted to kind of cover off with you is just because even since November 22, even before that, there's always been the does Google care if content is AI generated?
Yeah.
And the two school, I mean, my school of thought has always been it's been a grey area because Google wants to encourage you to use AI tooling because that's how what it's telling your shareholders is going to make it the next few
Yeah.
billion.
Yeah.
But at the same point, it doesn't want you to abuse the system. So I think with what they've done in the quality guidelines now is they've tried to do that juggle and prevent that
Mhm.
abuse. So the call out I want to make is in the guidelines, it even says now that even if the content has been fact checked, it has been reviewed, if the main content of a page has been produced or is suspected to have been produced using AI, it should always be ranked as the lowest in terms of quality.
Yeah.
Is this a bit of an overreaction statement to, or not an overstatement, even an overreaction or knee-jerk reaction to defending AI abuse? Because some AI content can still be useful if it's fact-checked and accurate. And I know
Yeah.
what was the one a couple of weeks ago telling you to iron parts of your body to make them less wrinkly. Did you not see that one?
I didn't, but I'm going to try that.
No. Well, I mean, it was a very specific male area. But if you wanted
Oh,
it to be less wrinkled, you should use a hot iron and iron it like a shirt.
what, what's going to look worse?
It
Wrinkles or
feels,
third-degree burns?
it kind of feels like an early headline from the Sun newspaper 10 years ago.
Yeah. Or like the
And the
Daily
one,
Star, like I put cream eggs up my bum or whatever.
yeah. Well, the one I was thinking of specifically was the guy who did something to a sausage roll from Greg's, and it got onto the
Oh,
it got onto the front page of a national newspaper in the UK. Yeah.
it's a slow news day, huh?
That, it's a slow day all around. That's what happened. But is this like a bit of an overreaction from Google in the sense of, well, if it's AI, it's low quality, even if it has been fact checked?
I suppose I'm trying to see what Google's rationale is here, like you say, because if their ultimate goal is to be helpful to the user, and like you say, it has been fact checked and everything, and it is helpful in answering people's questions, then why shouldn't it be ranked as high? The only thing I can think of is perhaps that it lacks that authorship and that it is essentially a secondary source because it has taken it from someone else rather than saying, if it were a legal article, this is written by this partner at law firm. So that does give it that extra sort of authority. We talk about EEAT. So perhaps it does need that, and long may that continue, because I do think we do need experts to be producing the content rather than just kind of putting everything together, producing AI generated content. So I'm hoping that the quality there comes from the authorship and the thought leadership. I hate that phrase, but actually getting it straight from the source, straight from the experts, people who have trained in this topic for years.
That might have grounds in because in the guidelines as well, they've called out a section specific to authorship, and in particular when a website. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have done this when they've made them like a little projects like you've gone on this person does not exist, clicked it a few times so you've got someone who looks reasonably normal, and then you've created a fake author profile. And I mean, you'll know from inserting Princess Casino links on beauty blogs 15 years ago, or less. But you're not using your real name, you're using fake names. So they've actually called out now and said if this is a fake profile, which is generated by AI and AI imagery, again, anything associated with this profile, lowest. They've also done the same. I also think they've taken a slightly affiliate approach to it as well, where if you have, like on an affiliate website, you'll have that generic disclaimer of some links on this site will earn us money.
Yes.
If you now have that disclaimer of some articles on this website have been produced wholly or in part by AI.
Yeah.
But the quality rater cannot ascertain exactly which articles or which parts of which article. They're told to just assume everything is trash.
Right.
Regardless of your authorship. So it could be just moving towards that way again, and it's the abuse system.
Yeah. I mean, as a writer, I'm all for it. I'd rather just get it from the source. Or indeed, if the source is someone who isn't much of a writer, then getting someone to interview them, like we did in the good old days, getting like a journalist or something to interview them and then write it up from their point of view. But I think there are ways that we can counter that fake authorship as well. AI generated images of humans are just terrible. They're very shiny, aren't they? But obviously links to other socials, LinkedIn, other trust signals, like let's say a law society badge on a legal website, stuff like that. So hopefully human common sense can intervene there.
Yeah. You let me know when you see human common sense on scale, and I will
yeah, all right, fair point.
Yeah. So from like your side of things, obviously you're heavily in the content world.
Mm-hmm.
How are you seeing clients? How are you seeing prospective clients? What are their current attitudes and feelings towards AI? Are some very much just for, yeah, let's do it, cost down, efficiency up, etc. Others, or is the general feel a bit more, no, let's keep this genuine, I guess?
Yeah. Well, I suppose by the fact that they are a client of mine, they are less inclined to use AI. But I was on the BBC World Service last week, actually, talking about this. And I sort of said to them that AI is very polarizing. You're right, either really, really in bed with it or you don't want to know. That said, some clients have been experimenting with it. But what I'm finding is rather than saying we're using generative AI to write the content, they might be coming to me and saying, can you have more of an editor role? Can you go through it? Can you check that it's all in British English? Can you check that it's in our tone of voice sort of thing? Which may, in some cases, probably take more time than just writing it from scratch. But or a lot of people will say, oh, we tried to save time and do it this way, but it was just useless kind of thing, which in my mind is sort of like buy cheap, buy twice. Obviously, I'm coming at this with a bias because I am a writer and I acknowledge that. But I think perhaps, and I talked about this at Brighton SEO in 2022, a month before ChatGPT came out, and I had no idea. And I talked about how the lowly writer's job may be changing now. We may be becoming more editors. So a case of actually maybe reviewing AI content and turning it, putting that tone of voice on it and making sure it meets house style, stuff like that. So by and large, clients are aware of it, but it's more a case of working with it or using it for perhaps the grunt work, as people call it, writing product descriptions or whatever, rather than say something like that requires an interview with a subject expert, something like that, which cannot be replaced by an AI.
Yeah, I mean, the analogy I always used to use before even AI was a conversation was there's only so many ways you can describe drill bits on a website. So, and obviously you'll have one SKU, one product page potentially for every different millimeter combination of everything. So before you know it, you've got 1 billion pages on effectively the same thing, which is 1 centimeter difference to the other.
Yeah.
For me, AI in that scenario, even to the point, like, yeah, you could. I'd rather use AI to generate some stuff there, but even then, you could probably just knock up a spreadsheet and concatenate key information.
Yes.
And Google probably doesn't care because it knows there's only so many things you can talk about a drill bit. So it's almost that.
Yeah, this is it. I mean, the creative argument for it is like, oh, well, you can't substitute human creativity and human independent thought. It's like, yeah, fine. But if you are writing about drill bits and it's literally just a product number with 1 letter's difference or whatever, you probably don't need to be that creative. And that's okay. But I'd happily have an AI write drill bit descriptions rather than people coming to me. I'll still write them, but, I'll be honest.
Do you think we could see with this, and because of how AI can help just exponentially increase capacity for content production, we kind of go back to what we had probably in the first couple of years post the first Panda update, in where every page that didn't have content needed content, and we just started creating content for content's sake. Like most e-commerce pages would whack 200-300 words and an FAQ right at the bottom of it, for example.
Yeah.
Do you think we potentially might go back to that as kind of a content sake thing?
I think definitely, yeah. The internet is so incredibly bloated with content that's just out there for content's sake, and like you say, at the time it was just because people felt like they had to tick a box and appease the machines. And now are we just in this new generation of doing that, but appeasing LLMs and stuff instead? So I don't know if maybe there'll be an update that actually says stop putting fluff on the internet for the sake of it. That would be great. But at the same time, don't do right as our job.
No, I was going to say, Gary Ilya's SEO day in Denmark, I think it was 2023, all time was starting to just become a blend now. He stood in front of a slide that just said 60% of the internet is duplicate. And that is probably a very misquoted slide, because in that he also meant like parameter duplication, HTTPS duplication, just technical gubbins of people not being able to build websites. But I think it's also the fact there's a value proposition duplication in there as well, in that does the internet really need 1 billion articles on how to boil an egg? So I think if we want to run down the route of box tick content of like, here's an article, here's 5 focus keywords, let's not take into account audiences and things like that, AI will have that proficiency. It may evolve considerably in the future, but if you actually want to produce the unique value proposition, then one of the phrases people have started using is human in the loop, but that makes it sound like human in the loop.
Right, okay, go on, sorry.
I think that's the justification of, we're going to use AI to do 99% of his content, but then we've had someone look over it and manually run it through Grammarly, so therefore a human is partially involved in production of this.
Manually run it through Grammarly.
Yeah. I'm happy you picked up on the math for funny. Ironically as well, because I use Grammarly Premium because my English capabilities are interesting. A lot of when I run it through Grammarly now, because I use the Premium, when the Grammarly goes, oh, you need to like just amend this section because it looks like you just basically punched a keyboard several times. That's now started failing AI checkers.
Has it? Okay. As in like AI content detectors.
Yeah, but not from a perspective of, this was definitely written by AI, but even Grammarly is now starting to say, oh, this section has slight themes of AI writing, and I'm like, dude, you literally just rewrote my stuff, so you're actually now writing like an AI.
I mean, I don't know how I feel about AI content checkers. I talked about this at Up North Festival last year. How one of my clients came to me and asked me to write stuff, and he said, run it through an AI checker. And I was like, but I've written it. But okay, I will. And one would tell you it's 5% and one might say 60% or whatever. And I've read a little bit about how they work. It's perplexity and pessiness, which I love. But you're seeing stuff like now saying that the Bible fails AI checks and stuff. So I don't know. What do you think about AI checkers? Do you think they're worth the salt? Or?
I think this is just because I probably I've run a lot of AI science experiments. I've burned Google, burned Bing, etc. I think you generally just get a feeling after spending time doing it. You can read something and go, oh, this feels like it's AI written, because they follow a pattern. And I'm going to probably go on a limb here and anger a lot of people. I'd say 90% of people who do basic prompting still follow the thing. I mean, a ChatGPT article will literally have a very generic intro and then let's delve into this article. And then you'll just end up with a load of really generic stuff, probably an over-exuberant use of bullet points, M dashes. Furthermore, moreover, additionally, I mean, I will admit, I did read an article on Forbes the other day, and it was like, here are some telltale words, and I'm like, I use them words in my natural language. Does that mean I'm an AI? It's pattern detection at the end of the day, and
it's tricky, isn't it? Because obviously it's trained on something. It sounds like it was trained on GCSE English essays a lot of the time. Furthermore, in conclusion, that I'm trying to fill the word gap.
Well, that's exactly. I mean, I remember doing that at university. I mean, it's unfortunate. I think it's the way. I think we're going to have to become more sophisticated over time. But but then there's also this kind of a snake eating its own tail. Like, if you're going to be really using AI to detect AI content, then the whole purpose of AI learning and developing is to not be detectable.
Right.
So it's kind of like SEO agencies 10, 15 years ago would probably have two teams in a room. You'd have a team
Yeah.
on one side of the room building links, and then you'd
Yeah.
have a team on the other side of the room being paid by the same client to remove the spammy links the other team is building. But you just
Yeah.
keep a Chinese wall between them sometimes, and you
Yeah.
just pass it off. This does
Yeah.
kind of feel like that same scenario, but because there's so many different models and so many different, it doesn't make. Yeah, I think the issue is it causes distrust as well.
Yes. Yes.
Because the accuracy levels. I mean, I can run a piece of content through 5 different AI tools, and I'll get 5 different answers.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So take it with a pinch of salt. And I think even though we said that at scale, common sense doesn't really exist, you can detect patterns if you consume a lot of content on the internet every day. Like you say, a generic intro,
Yeah.
just the bullet point list. You can spot it, can't you?
Yeah, I mean, it kind of goes to the point of, are we moving closer to like dead internet theory?
Well, I love this. Yeah, go on.
So dead internet theory is, let me bring this up so I'm not putting false words into it, but essentially the entire internet is now just bots talking to bots.
Yeah, I've seen this
on
LinkedIn.
Yeah. So the dead internet theory is a conspiracy theory that asserts, due to a coordinated and intentional effort, the internet now consists of mainly bot activity and automatically generated content manipulated by algorithmic curation to control the population and minimize organic human activity. I'm going to be honest, as I read automatically generated content manipulated by algorithmic curation, I immediately just thought of like Lad Bible and those kind of publications which were just generally pumping out content based on trends.
Yeah, definitely. Clickbait in general, worthless content.
Here's 17 ways AI will change the world. Number 17 will surprise you.
Oh my god, don't! I saw one the other day, and it was like this is the most terrifying picture ever taken in space, and it's like a picture of an astronaut just floating away. And actually, as soon as you click the article, it's like, oh, it's fine. Yes, he was untethered, but he was fine. He was just walking around on the moon, happy as Larry. Why?
But that's how we were taught to write. The whole clickbait
Yeah.
thing back then was, what was it? It was always use an odd number.
Mm-hmm. And then was it what,
Always,
7?
yeah, always use an odd number because odd apparently felt more realistic than even. In fairness, there is some logic behind that. There's a book which I recommend to anybody to read. It's called Never Split the Difference.
Right. Okay.
It's written by Chris Voss, who, again, I'm probably going to get this wrong, but I believe he was the former lead hostage negotiator for the FBI for a number of years.
Okay.
And the whole premise of his book is negotiate like your life is dependent on it. It's all like verbal cues and things like that. And
yeah.
He always used to say, when you put a number forward, like when, I don't know, when you have a kidnapper with a load of hostages, say, I want $1 million. And they'd go, right, we can't get you $1 million in 2 hours. That's not possible. But we can get you 378,512.
Okay.
Because that makes it sound like that's a calculated number and not just plucked out of thin air.
Yes. Yeah, definitely.
So I think there is a bit of human psychology potentially around odd numbers.
Definitely. Yeah, you hear it in pricing as well. People say like online courses should be charged at 297 or whatever it has to be, like the final 7. Or I think now I'm going back to my GCSE business studies here, but there was they talk about psychological pricing like 99p or £1.99, wherever it's cheaper. And I think they said that they did a study where M&S, they changed all their pricing from 99p to just rounded up to £1. They made like an extra bazillion per year. You know, obviously I don't know the numbers, but just from a banding.
No, that stands true. Rory Sutherland, who I'm pretty sure everyone in marketing knows, there's a clip of him online, and he's talking about someone he doesn't name them for very obvious reasons, but he's talking about some people he knows in supermarket pricing, and when they do the offers where you're meant to save money, like buy 2 get 1 free or something like that.
Yeah.
And every now and again, the system fails. So they advertise, I know, buy these 2 loaves of bread, get a third free.
Yeah.
But the system doesn't actually discount the third loaf of bread.
Yeah.
And the sheer percentage of people who realise is so small, they
Yeah.
just make money hand over fist.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So I
interesting.
think it's that psychological perception thing. So wanting to kind of round this off and close it off, and how do you feel AI is going to continue to move forward in 2025? Are we going to see the further abuse of the content system? Are we hopefully going to see that plateau and people start using it responsibly? Or, yeah, what are your thoughts on this?
I think it will be harder to abuse. I mean, we talked about, was it last year, the SEO heist, where they produced all that content at scale and then all just got penalised.
I've got so many thoughts on the whole SEO heist thing and why some AI websites failed in general. I don't necessarily think it was down to it being AI content. I think there's other things in there, but I feel that's a conversation for another.
Yes.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think I'm praying that Google, with this widespread adoption of AI, will, as a result, become more stringent with checks and making sure that people aren't abusing it. And in tandem with that, I think because the general public reception of AI is to be cautious about it, I think people will hopefully invest more into that fact checking and making sure that we're not just producing content at scale without actually checking it. So I'm optimistic, cautiously, but optimistic.
Well, that's good to have optimism for our space in 2025, I guess. Because it's only I probably can go on LinkedIn now and find another one of those memes of SEO is dead and all the other marketing channels kind of posing around the gravestone. You know the meme I'm on about.
Of course, yeah.
But so yeah, I'd like to draw that to an end. So that is everything for this episode. Thank you again to Katie for joining me. Katie, where can people find you? I mean, that sounds really like stalkery. Where can people find you?
In a cave. I'm on LinkedIn, just Katie Thompson. My social handles are Katie Lingo York. Be warned, there's a lot of stand-up comedy and other stupid stuff on there. So, I'm a very serious professional, but also like to have a laugh. So, yeah.
Yeah, I can attest to that, especially after the recent Instagram stories.
Yes.
Well, no, everyone, please do check Katie out online. Oh, that sounds even worse. But thank you all for listening. If you like this episode and haven't clicked the report button, please don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube channel or follow the audio version on whichever podcast app you're listening to. I've been Dan Taylor, and this has been the Tech SEO Podcast. Thank you very much for listening.